how ancient philosophers would thrive in modern wealth building and how you can too. If Socrates was alive today, he would crush it working on Wall Street. The other day, I was reading some Plato and came across this quote from one of his dialogues called Euthyphro, and it got me thinking about how strangely timeless the world of finance is. Here's what happened. Socrates is talking to this guy named Euthyphro, who was brought charges against his own father for murdering a slave who tried to escape. So Socrates asks him, Euthyphro, why did you bring these charges against your own father? He responds, well, because he committed murder. Socrates pushes a little further. So you think that killing people who do wrong is right? Euthyphro says, of course. And Socrates says, are you sure? Let's say that someone close to you, maybe a family member, commits a great injustice. Are you still going to bring charges against them? Okay. And Euthyphro starts getting uncomfortable, responding, well, no. Not if it was someone close to me. Socrates continues, so it's okay to commit murder if it's someone close to you. Euthyphro squirms and says, well, I guess so. This goes back and forth until, finally, Socrates gets Euthyphro to admit that doing the right thing isn't actually about following rules or laws, or even doing what you said you're gonna do. It's about doing what's right, no matter what. Hey, and this led me to realize that the reason this quote has stood the test of time is because the things that really matter have unchanged much. If you're a doer, you already know that. But if you're like me, sometimes you need a reminder. We've been conditioned to believe that things have changed a lot, that we're living in unprecedented times, that our problems are unique to us, that we're facing challenges no one has ever faced before. But that's simply not true. Every generation thinks that they're the first generation to face hard times. But the truth is, life is hard. Business is hard. Building a legacy is hard. Life is also beautiful. Business is also amazing. Building a legacy is also amazing. This just is the way of the world. As humans, we have a natural tendency to think that what we're doing is special, that our path is unique. We tell ourselves that we're cut from a different cloth than all those who came before us, but that couldn't be further from the truth. We're all in this together. All of the emotions we experience, the wins, the losses, the doubts, the fears, the joys, the excitement, everything that comes with the territory of being a human being trying to build something in this world, that's timeless. The circumstances change, but what really matters doesn't. Our challenges might be different. We might have access to different tools and resources and information, but the core of what it means to be a human being hasn't changed, and neither has the core of what it means to build a business. The basic principles of investing haven't changed since the days of the Greeks. You buy low and you sell high. It doesn't matter if you're flipping digital art or precious metals. Human nature hasn't changed. People haven't changed. Our motivations, our desires, our fears, our dreams, they're the same. And that means that if you can harness timeless wisdom and apply it to your modern context, you can build something that lasts. If you're here, you probably already know that. You see yourself as a builder, an investor, an entrepreneur. You want to make money? You want to build something? You want to leave a legacy behind? That's you? Then you'll appreciate what I'm about to share with you, because I'm going to show you how ancient philosophers would thrive in modern finance and what that means for you. Let's start with Socrates. I've talked a lot about the Stoics, but I don't think I've given Socrates his flowers yet. To be honest, I'm a little surprised by that, because he's my favorite Greek philosopher, and I think that he deserves more love. There's a reason that there's a saying, Socrates was the wisest man who ever lived. Socrates was the first person to use the scientific method. He wasn't concerned with having all the answers. Instead, he used questions to get others to examine their beliefs and ideas, right? And that's exactly what we need more of in business today. A lot of executives suffer from what I call the fallacy of false authority, which basically means they get in a position but they feel like they requalify to talk about anything and everything because they have a seat at the adult table. They're at the top. They made it. So they must know stuff that other people don't. But the truth is, if you look into the eyes of most executives, you can see the fear. And I'll let you read between the lines. Now, this isn't Socrates' fault. He died 2,300 years before the concept of executive really existed. But the point remains, Socrates would have been the greatest chief knowledge officer that any company could have ever hired. When you combine Socrates' way of thinking with the power of finance, magic happens. Just like Euthyphro realized that the right thing to do isn't always easy, but it's always right. Likewise, when it comes to business, it's important to recognize that just because something works or is legal, that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. At its best, business is a force for good. You can take what you have, add value, and sell it to someone else who wants it. Both parties walk away better off than they were before. That's the ideal, but sometimes business gets distorted, and it becomes about taking advantage of loopholes and exploiting the system. And that's where the Socratic method can help us keep each other in check. If you want to succeed in business without selling out, it helps to listen to Socrates. Always ask why. Question your assumptions. Discomfort is where growth happens. If everyone around you is comfortable, then someone is getting ripped off. Next up is Epictetus, one of my favorite Stoics. I talk about him all the time because he helped me get through some of the toughest times in my life. Epictetus wouldn't just survive in the world of finance, he would thrive. Why? Because he knew that half of life is up to us and half is up to the universe. And it's in our control to choose how we respond to the things that happen to us. Most traders come into the market with a whole bunch of expectations. They expect the trade to go their way. They expect the stock to hit their target price. Expect to make money, okay? And when that doesn't happen, they lose their minds. What Epictetus reminds us is that we don't actually control the outcome. All we can control is our response to the outcome. Man, that's the difference between surviving and thriving. Sure, you can blame the Fed or the banks or the government or Elon Musk's dog or whatever, but none of that is going to put money in your pocket, okay? But if you accept what's happening and double down on your response, you put yourself in a position to win. Epictetus once said, "It's not things that upset us. It's our opinions about those things." It's even more true in trading. It's not the trade that upsets us. It's our opinions about the trade. As soon as you stop blaming others and yourself and focus on what you can control, you're ready to win. Lastly, we have Plato, one of the OG investors. Plato once wrote, "Wise people learn more from losers than winners." And this really speaks to the importance of studying the markets. He goes on to say, many people fail to achieve their goals because they focus on what is holding them back instead of on what is ahead of them. Don't be one of those people. Be like Plato and stay focused on the prize. Embrace the journey and remember that it's not the destination, it's the journey that really matters. When you adopt Plato's mindset, you become more resilient in the face of adversity, and you can navigate the choppy waters of the markets with grace. You see, the markets are like the ocean. Sometimes they're calm and peaceful, but sometimes they're rough and unpredictable. But if you're like Plato and you have a deep understanding of the markets, you can ride the waves and steer your ship to success. Of course, that requires skills, expertise, and discipline, but it's possible. So how do we apply the lessons of the past to the world today? Well, let's start with Socrates. Ask questions, challenge your assumptions, and never stop learning. Remember, ignorance is often the root cause of all evil. Next, let's look at Epictetus. Set what you can't control and focus on what you can. It's the only way to thrive in this world. Finally, let's take a page out of Plato's book. Study the markets, learn from both your wins and losses, and never lose sight of your goals. As Seneca said, it's not that life is short, it's that we waste a lot of it. Don't waste your time here, make it count. This is Philosopher's Hustle, okay? Subscribe and drop your favorite philosopher or entrepreneur in the comments.